Moving ahead on this, they realise that nuclear is needed for affordable, reliable, abundant, clean energy, and it's time that the Labor Party realise that.
I don't understand why these people can't just reference the report and go, this is where they're wrong, this is where they're wrong, this is what it should be, this is what it should be, and then use that as an argument instead of just looking to other countries and being like, oh look, they're doing it, therefore it's cheaper. It's a dumb argument. I don't understand. If your whole argument just weighs in on what other countries are doing, have already invested heavily in nuclear, I don't understand why you think this is a good argument.
It didn't take long for Labor to revive its childish and immature nuclear energy scare campaigns again. A day after the coalition indicated it would likely stick to a nuclear energy policy, aka a policy for cheap, reliable energy to keep the lights on in this country and get us off this renewables only magic carpet ride, the Energy Minister was up to his old tricks again, posting this picture to Instagram with the caption, "It may not yet be Halloween, but this is the scariest film in town." It's scary because it shows the coalition still doesn't get it. Joining me.
All right, come on, you can't get upset about that. That is very light-hearted messaging there, memes there. Come on, you can't be too upset about that. I mean, they go both ways. So I don't understand why they're why they're so butthurt about that, but okay.
Now is Nuclear for Australia founder Will Shackle. Will, thanks for joining me. So look, they're back already, the scare campaigns, and the coalition has not even yet unveiled a policy.
Look, it's concerning our Energy Minister doesn't realise that that cooling tower is not actually a nuclear reactor. I find it really concerning that the Labor Party is doubling down on this, because when you look around the world, the UK and the US are committed to quadrupling nuclear power. India is planning to increase their nuclear capacity tenfold by 2047, and China is announcing basically 10 reactors every single year. So the rest of...
Look, I don't understand, other countries can expand... when he's referencing UK, US, China, and I don't know if he's referencing China, but France and that, we have a very different energy mix up than those countries. We have a lot more wind. We have a lot more capable of solar. We don't necessarily have to have the same. And those are all countries that have already heavily invested in nuclear in the past decade. Just due to war and stuff like that. So we're not a nation that has invested much in nuclear. So I think this is the strongest point against nuclear, is the fact that Australia just hasn't invested much. And we haven't, if we were to, invest in getting that knowledge from, foreign agencies and stuff like that, then yeah, sure. But that's in terms of how we're going to meet our emission targets. It's just not going to, it's most likely not going to happen.
The world is moving ahead on this. They realise that nuclear is needed for affordable, reliable, abundant, clean energy, and it's time that the Labor Party realise that.
Well, okay, so someone debate me on this, but when you look through the GenCost report, it explicitly says that nuclear was more expensive than renewables with firming. What more research do you need to actually go, okay, yeah, that's the best way forward for us. Okay, I don't understand why these people can't just reference the report and go, this is where they're wrong, this is where they're wrong, this is what it should be, this is what it should be, and then use that as an argument instead of just looking to other countries and being like, oh look, they're doing it, therefore it's cheaper. It's a dumb argument. I don't understand. If your whole argument just weighs in on what other countries are doing, who, like I just said before, have already invested heavily in nuclear, I don't understand why you think this is a good argument.
Look, absolutely, and I'm sure before too long we'll be seeing the three-headed animal pictures being rolled out, and this is why we just can't have a proper debate about energy in this country because of nonsense like that. Now,
no, we can't have a proper debate on energy because you guys can't even formulate any sort of credible evidence to argue against what they're putting forward. They've got the GenCost report, they've got the AMO ISP, they've got all of the energy agencies and climate change authority all supporting everything that they're saying, and all you've got is just this rhetoric around how like you're upset about memes and stuff. So like that's why it's not a serious debate. It's because you haven't got anything serious to bring forward. Anyone show me how I'm wrong here.
The opposition energy spokesman Dan Tehan has returned from a fact-finding mission to the US, and he said that there is overwhelming agreement on the coalition side that it needs to be part of the energy mix, being nuclear. I have to ask you, do the opposition really need to go to the US just to find that out about nuclear and then spend months trying to figure out an energy policy?
Okay, for starters, like, yes, they do need to go over there. If they're doing what you want them to do, then you kind of want to learn off them. You don't want to go look at another country and go, oh, look how successful they are using nuclear. Oh, let's just do it ourselves. Let's reinvent the wheel. That's what you're advocating for there.
Well, look, the facts about nuclear are very, very clear, and I think it is encouraging that the coalition is still committed to nuclear power because it is needed in our mix. I honestly wish, though, that Labor politicians did the same thing and went overseas, looked at nuclear power plants with their own eyes. There are 440 operable nuclear reactors around the world. This is something that is proven globally, so I really wish that they took a leaf out of the coalition's book right now and had a look at it, because there is precedent for bipartisanship on nuclear power. The UK Labor Party is one of the biggest supporters of nuclear around the world, and the Democrats are also supportive of it. So obviously, we would like to see the coalition push forward ahead with their policy. There are positive indications coming from Dan Tehan at the moment, but at the end of the day, we need bipartisanship on nuclear power, and it is not a hard ask.
Jesus Christ, this guy is speaking so much more fluently and like so much more sense than what the reporter is, and like he's not even using dirty rhetoric, which is good. Like, yes, okay, I also agree that it's good that the coalition is still pushing for nuclear, because it is something that in the future, maybe not even the next 20, 30 years, but it could be something that we could be using in like the like 2027, 2080 or whatever. Like, I do think that there is a lot of things that can be done with nuclear. I 100% agree with that. But in terms of like meeting our net zero target or making an impact to the climate as it is, like I still think that renewables plus firming is the best option, and that is because that's what the modelling says. That's what all the research is saying for Australia. This is the most effective way that we can reach our targets. Now, as this Will guy is saying here, yeah, like maybe do take in what the US Democrats and what the UK Labor Party are doing. Maybe do speak with that, which I would think that is what is being discussed at these sort of national meetings, like COP, the climate change thing that Chris Bowen just went to and all that. Like, I dare say they are speaking about that. So yeah, maybe more transparency around what they're doing and how Australia's conversations with them. Yeah, 100% agree. So like, I prefer this type of conversation rather than what Sky News is just typically known for.
Well, look, hopefully we get to that point.
Because even this guy here, he hasn't actually said that renewables isn't the best path forward. He's just advocating that nuclear could be the potential for the future, and that we should continue investing in it. I don't know, unless I misheard, but like I just haven't heard him say anything harsh against renewables yet. It's
just, we don't know with Labor on this one-way ticket to renewables fantasy, but it's interesting.
See, like even then, like what she just said then, like it's just, you can just tell that there's just a huge degree of bias, and it doesn't actually come from anywhere with any education. Whereas this guy here obviously seems like he is highly educated and he has done a lot of research into it. So he's not saying this like very hyperbolic narrative because he sort of knows it's not true. Whereas this sort of, you can just read right through this, which is this is for clicks. This is actual for real change.
Well, because Labor is out claiming that voters backed in their renewables only plan, and they say, well, this is why we were overwhelmingly elected at the last election. But well, if we cast our minds back, the coalition, I don't think, really prosecuted nuclear, particularly towards the end. They really shied away from it. But in your view, what part of that policy would need to be changed or executed differently to take a foolproof plan on nuclear to the next election?
Okay, I'm hoping he's going to say here, and like you write down what you think is going to be the best answer. But I dare say it's just going to be around the budgeting, the costing of how much it's going to cost, and then the type of investment that's going to be required, both from skills and finance. So I'm hoping that's kind of what he's going to say.
Well, look, if the public didn't support nuclear power, you would expect it to have been seeing it in the sites of the proposed nuclear power plants. But in reality, none of them actually changed hands. That was despite over $3 million being spent by anti-nuclear groups across the country on an anti-nuclear disinformation campaign. I think for the coalition, they need to be keeping all options on the table, looking at the vast array of nuclear technologies, whether it's micro-reactors, small modular reactors, large nuclear reactors, as we see around the world. But at the end of the day, the biggest priority must be lifting the nuclear power prohibition. Australia is the only top 20 economy with a ban on nuclear power, yet we have the most...
This is a very, very important topic that he's touching on here that no one else talks about. And that is, you got at the federal level, we have got laws, banning nuclear power or like nuclear generation. But even if the federal government, like say Labor government, were to lift those laws, you still got the states that have got theirs as well, like Queensland, New South Wales, and Victoria still got theirs as well. So there's much more to be done rather than just the Labor government, removing their bans.
Most uranium in the world. We've got the expertise managing research reactors, and we're about...
Oh, see, I disagree with that. I don't think that we've got the expertise. We probably have like the capability of learning the expertise, but I don't think we actually have them on hand. So I'd probably just refine what he says there. And I might be wrong as well. Like I could be proven wrong. But, I dare say Australia as a whole, we're struggling to get people to basically roll out the renewables thing. Nuclear is just going to be a whole other kettle of fish. So I don't know.
To get nuclear submarines. It is only just makes sense to lift the ban, and I hope that the coalition focus on that and then see what else they can do in terms of nuclear policy for Australia.
Look, absolutely. We are a uranium powerhouse. What a shame we don't use it to its purpose. Will Shackle, thank you very much for joining me on the program. Really appreciate your insights.
Thank you, Danikia.
Okay, that was it was actually interesting to see someone who's like obviously a higher skilled sort of person in that field up against a reporter. Well, not really up against, but speaking with the reporter, when you can see like side by side, you could actually see
the world and the Democrat facts about nuclear.
You can actually see the difference in narrative between this guy, Will, and this reporter here. Like this is all just very, very harsh rhetoric, and this is actually some coherent educational research sort of speaking on the matter. Like it's night and day. So anyways, tell me what you guys think. If nuclear should be in the Australian mix. Do you disagree with the Gen Cost report? Ultimately that nuclear is not the way forward and that it's still renewables with firming.